Well, hello, welcome to Double Talk. I'm Mark Steffen.
And I'm Michael Mandel, and it's so good to be here after what happened last week.
What happened last week?
We did the show.
That's true, we did.
I know. So,
well, last week was a grueling, quite a grueling weekend. We had a lot of things going on last weekend.
Grueling, yes.
I barely survived.
You did?
Well, I had a lot going on.
How can I tell?
Well, you know,
Feel your pulse.
It's weak and thready. But
great.
Last weekend we had the
many things.
The White Sands International Film Festival.
That's right.
Was here for its third year in a row.
I was asked to paint them white.
The sands?
I did the sands white. I did the painting of them.
Thank you very much. Well, you had to do something to get you out of town.
I know. It helped.
And I think overall it was a great event. The people running it this year were kind of doing it for the first time, having taken it over from the previous operating general manager.
But it was far bigger, wasn't it?
Well, it was about the same.
More people,
as far as
more
films
people
go.
came, right?
Not necessarily.
No.
Well, more movie stars came. That's for sure. You know, I've been to a lot of film festivals before, and I've had my films in other festivals. I've attended festivals. I've been a judge at festivals. I'm familiar with film festivals.
So the White Sands Film Festival is about you.
No, it's not. It wasn't all about me. Although I did have my film in this festival.
You did?
Yes, I did.
Well, good for you.
And in fact,
by
the way, here's my film. This is the official T-shirt, Lowriders, the movie.
And pull this out so you can see it.
Right.
Fits with the background we have here.
This is the film I produced and directed, which
Lowriders,
which played at the
he's
White
from
Sands
the Hood
Film Festival.
He's from the Hood, so he's got a lowrider car, but he didn't plan it that way.
And I know lowriders. Yes, and this is the official program to the film festival.
We had a lot of important people here, other than Mark Medoff, who's always here, but he always lends credence to whatever endeavor the theater community.
He was one of the organizing board members of it, and of course his son-in-law is now in charge of the film festival. Mark was present at many of the screenings.
Mark Ross or Mark Medoff?
Mark Medoff.
Or Ross Marks.
Ross Marks.
Ross Marks,
was present at many of them as well. They had a great lineup of independent films you'll only see at a place like a independent film festival. Mark Medoff premiered his own film that he wrote and directed, starring Linda Hamilton.
Linda Hamilton. We have a picture of Linda Hamilton, I think.
She was here. She showed up for the festival. She was very gracious and answered questions and said hello to everybody. And there she is from Terminator 2.
I thought that was our wedding picture. Remember that? It was a shotgun wedding with an AK-47 or whatever those things are. That's not an AK-47.
And so anyway, she was gracious enough to show up and was very nice to everybody. And then, of course, the next night we had Val Kilmer here. He came for his Lifetime Achievement Award.
He had just polished his nose.
And he came Friday night. He was there for the screening of The Doors. And afterwards,
The Doors, the movie, not
Doors, the
because the movie theater had doors.
Emergency exits.
Doors, yes.
And Val Kilmer was there. He was very engaging Friday night after the movie.
Gave a little speech, I understand.
Talked a while, answered some questions, and then we all went to the party afterwards where he received his Lifetime Achievement Award. Apparently he was overcome by so many of the women clamoring on him and pulling at him and haranguing him that he left early.
Then they all did that to you.
Well, they always do that to me, but he left early. He left that night. He did not show up the following morning, Saturday morning, for Tombstone.
His other movie.
Which he was going to be there for afterwards for a question and answer session. So, unfortunately, he did leave early to the consternation of many of us at the festival.
Which means, I guess, he gave us his answer.
So he took his award and ran.
And that's too bad. But he did help. He's helped the film industry in New Mexico. So
he has.
Have to be thankful.
He's actually one of the original people to get the film industry rolling in a big way in New Mexico. He was one of the first people. He and Governor Johnson, at the time, started to get an incentive program going, and then Bill Richardson took it over in a big way. And now the film industry here is second unto the atomic bomb industry in New Mexico.
Yeah. So we make other bombs.
That's right.
Sometimes. Although we do have, and it's not just the movie industry, it's Breaking Bad, which is filmed in Albuquerque. Looks like they put a lot of money into that. And I know we're not plugging other shows, but go look at Breaking Bad. It's one of the best shows around. It's won lots of movies. Bryan Cranston.
Awards, you mean?
Yes, won lots of awards.
Yeah, Bryan
Cranston from
Malcolm in the Middle.
Malcolm in the Middle.
He's won 2 or 3 Emmys already for that series.
Great acting.
and I think it's in
writing.
its fourth season
Fourth
now,
or fifth, maybe.
shooting up in the Albuquerque area. And
Those of you familiar with Albuquerque will recognize it.
right. And the film festival itself, overall, was a good thing. There were a few stuttering starts and things that first-time festival makers do make
Are you going to show something?
simple mistakes. One of the problems I had with the film festival was the way the schedules were arranged. You weren't allowed to see everything. They were staggered. So when you got out of this movie, this one had already started, or half over. So you couldn't go from this theater to this theater to watch the next movie. You'd have to wait 45 minutes to watch this movie.
So they had a lot of stuff.
And
Is
they
that
didn't,
what you're saying?
Well, many festivals will rerun the films that conflicted on Sunday, so you can catch up and watch everything you missed. This festival didn't do that. The only films they reran on Sunday were the ones that won the awards. But you don't know ahead of time which ones are going to win the awards
So you
to plan
can't
your
tell.
schedule.
So they
that's-
need an app for that, right? How to schedule movies so that everybody
Well,
can see everything.
they might have fixed that because for next season, the next year's film festival, they've added an extra day to the festival. So hopefully they'll be able to fix that problem.
So if they're doing that as a whole, I would say that this year's festival was quite a successful,
I would say it was a successful. Yes,
Yes.
indeed. You just coined a phrase.
or whatever, yes.
And
So it had a plethora of movies, so much that
It did.
there's too much for the schedule.
uh,
Good, little baby New Mexico.
Yeah, so
Yes.
it's a good thing. It's a
It's
good
good.
thing for Las Cruces. And
Other things that happened this weekend you were part of, I believe,
in a big way.
in a big way. Did you want to go on the Salsa Fest?
Sure, let's talk about the Salsa Festival.
You could talk. I didn't go see the salsa or taste it. I went.
You didn't go to the film festival either.
I didn't go to film festival either because I don't have patience for watching narratives that aren't my own. But I did go to the first Salsa Fest when Dave Edwards was the guy who was running it. Remember that
Right,
one?
I think
2
this is
years ago.
2 years ago.
I
This
also
is-
went last year, I think.
This is the third year as well for the Salsa Fest as for the film festival.
Three's the charm,
So
or not.
so there were oh gosh, 20.
Did you have a good time during the Salsa Fest?
Yes, I did. 20
You
or
did?
25. What happened was I went to the Rio Grande Theater to watch the student short films as part of the film festival.
Mm-hmm.
After I saw those, I walked basically around the corner to the Salsa Fest, and I sampled some
Busy.
great tasting salsas.
You still have a little heartburn?
I do,
Oh, that's too bad.
and this is the program from it.
Oh, that's actually sort of what salsa kind of looks like.
That's what it looks like.
Chips
Maybe if you go
and
to
baba ganoush in the middle or something.
no, that's guacamole.
Is that guacamole? The color doesn't
Are you
come
sure?
out so well on this TV.
Maybe if you go
Yes.
to La Posa, you might find
see-
it's sort of an array of Mexican
Yes.
salsas and.
Or Si Senor has a bunch of salsas.
Yes, but
So this is all tomato based, obviously, right?
tomato or green chili based, jalapeno based.
Any
So-
ones that you like in particular?
Well, I did like the ones at Tresco. In fact, I voted for that one. That's my favorite. It was
And-
extremely tasty. It was a green.
Really?
It was green chili and jalapenos.
But since it's made by Tresco, you
Man,
can't go
was
and
it
buy
good.
it.
You can't buy it.
Wow.
Most of these salsas are not commercially available.
You have to get friends with somebody who is in the Salsa Fest, and that's why you should go to the Salsa Fest. You can befriend these people, and they'll give you their
Well,
stuff.
there were two categories. One for commercially made salsa, like restaurants, and one for non-commercial, like if
Private parties.
if you and I decided to make a
We should do that.
kosher
We
salsa.
should do that. Something that goes well with gefilte fish.
With some matzah and
You need a little
you
bit
don't
of
use
that.
a chip. You use a matzah. And
You need
it's-
the matzah and right. Say the blessing over the salsa.
And so anyway, there were quite a few good salsas, and a few they were just so-so. It's kind of hard to make a bad salsa, really,
We could try.
unless you make one that's toxic. And that happened.
Well, the flavor could still be good, even if it is toxic.
Well, yes, true, but ultimately that's not what you want because there was food poisoning at the Salsa Fest. I'm sorry to say, which could spell the doom for it next year.
I don't think so. I think they'll probably check it after they find out what
Well,
happened.
well, I was on the phone with the health department today.
Why were you on the phone?
I was on the phone with the health department today because I personally received a severe case of food poisoning, courtesy of the Salsa Fest.
I was going to comment. You look a little thinner.
That's not a diet I recommend.
Well, it's
I
cheaper
was-
than going to Mexico.
Well, I was sick for 2 days, and I mean sick, baby.
Man.
Sick, especially the first day. And
But that's over, right? You got through that.
I got through it. But how do I know I don't have liver damage? If it's botulinus, You could have liver damage.
You could have liver damage from a lot of things you've done in your life. So
No,
don't
I
blame it
couldn't.
on the Salsa Fest.
Well, you know, if others got sick, and I heard they did,
Yes.
they may want to be checked by a doctor. Now, who's responsible for paying those medical bills?
Who?
If they want to have their liver checked to see if they have incurred permanent liver damage.
Do you suggest calling the health department?
Well, I do suggest calling the health department.
That's how New Mexico spells health. H-E-L. Yeah.
And
We don't copy. That was very quick.
Finally, actually, it was very difficult to find the number for the health department. It's not in the phone book. If you want to call to, actually, it's not the health department you really call. It's the Environmental Protection Agency,
Environmental protection.
or environmental, the state of New Mexico Environmental Department.
But you know, the way society is going now, we're trying to cut out regulations because we know how regulations such as these impede jobs. That's the argument.
That's true. Because morticians need jobs for people who die of
I
food
just
poisoning.
turned this into a political thing, so we don't need a health department or environmental.
Well, they provide jobs.
They do, but the idea is that all these regulations, like keeping people from getting salmonella poisoning, we don't need that because that stops jobs. That is one political party's point of view. Less regulation, that'll hire people.
That's true.
I
So,
don't know how.
But if anybody out there did get sick from eating at the Salsa Fest, or you think you might have, please call that number at the health department and report it.
Or call us.
Or call us right here at the station.
And
You
then
can
we
email
will-
us. Email us right here at Double Talk on the Las Cruces channel.
Oh, wait, there's a call coming in
We
right now.
want to know about it.
D-
I personally want to know about it. And
Sun News should know about it, right? That's not me.
the Sun News will know about it.
That's Mark.
I actually was called by a reporter from the Sun News doing a story about it. And so the word's out there. So anyone who might have gotten sick at the Salsa Fest, please call the health department.
I'm not the guy that got sick. Yeah, he is. That's why he's wearing black.
It's not black, it's blue, Michael.
Well, you may be black and blue. So am I, because I got a shot. Blue.
And actually,
so you want to say
and actually,
something?
you can also call the director of the Salsa Fest. She's the executive director of the Downtown Las Cruces Partnership.
Did you call her?
Her name is Laura Kinseth.
Wasn't he in the jalapeno contest?
And her number is 525-1955.
So I'm sure the phone lines are open. So
Yeah.
just give them a call.
They're open.
And they'll do that. So
Well, don't call them today because it's Saturday. I'm sure she doesn't work on a Saturday.
and we're done with, that's it for Salsa Fest. We'll go on to something else that could ruin your appetite.
Well, hey, you know, if this
Or
happens,
ruin the appetite
if
of
this is
animals.
something that can happen next year, well, maybe we shouldn't have a Salsa Fest, you know?
Maybe we got the salsa from Germany. They had a problem with
I don't
the
think-
salmonella. So we're going to talk. Should we talk about the hunting season?
Well-
You know, that's always good. You can make a nice chili. You know, all you need to change salsa into chili is a little bit of meat or some beans, and then there you got a meal.
Well,
you get some good
chili,
salsa.
Chili goes good with all kinds of meaty products.
Yeah.
And as Michael just
getting
mentioned,
hungry.
hunting season started this week.
It did?
And yes, it did. And for all you hunters out there, of course,
ducking.
Most hunters already know that. If you're a deer hunter, you know that it's only for bow and arrow right now. And we'll talk more about the hunting season when we come back, right after these words.